All right, so today, in order to catch up, what we're going to do is to move on, we have to do absolute and reference cells. Okay? Does anybody know, because I skipped ahead, what is an absolute or what's a reference cell formula? George.
Absolute is going to always be that reference, and you put the.
Wait, you just defined it with reference. No, just kidding.
So it's always going to go back to that cell no matter what. If you put the dollar sign on depending on which dollar sign you put on, it's the one that's going to stay consistent with.
Good. So he's talking about dollar signs. Is everybody confused now? We're like, wow, it's money, it's something. What we're talking about is in Excel, if I was to like put a formula in B6. So I'm just going to show you a quick example. You don't need to do this. But if I was to go into B6 and write something like this equals this number, which is B4, times 5. If I drag that across, it's going to move what was in there. So before it said B4 times 5, now it says C4 because I rotated it, or I moved it right one. It's going to go right one. If I move it down one, it's going to move C4 to C5. You know, it's going to keep it, it's referencing back to the location of the original formula based upon where I input it. Now, when we make something absolute, meaning I don't want you to move this piece of the formula based upon where I put the next formula if I copy it. So I can come over here, and on B4, I can actually just put dollar signs in front of the B and the 4. If you can see it up here, I know it's tiny. But a dollar sign in front of the B means don't ever move the column. I want you to keep the column. You can leave the 4 unabsolute, and that would mean if we went down, the number would increase. So it would go B4, B5, B6, B7, B8. And we could even move it over here, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8 as we go down, but it would always stay in B. If we put a dollar sign, in front of a B and in front of the 4, it means I don't ever want this cell to move no matter where I put this formula. And that's the one we most commonly use. We're going to see that we're going to do a mixed method, which is going to come up here in a second, which is sometimes we want to calculate just the row, we want it to stay fixed, and we want to copy that thing all the way across here. So we leave the column as a reference, so it's referencing the distance, but we don't we don't want the row to move, so we leave that solid. So we can either mix it or we can use it completely. There's a shortcut, and I love to teach shortcuts. So if you ever want to make a location or a cell fixed, what do you hit? What's the one keystroke you can hit, George? You know?
No, I just put dollar sign.
Okay, you can go in and do a dollar sign, or if you just hit F4, it'll automatically, you just have to be clicked on it and hit F4, and it'll automatically make it a reference cell. I don't know if that will work for you, Tony, on the Mac. But so this is F4. Notice it just went to another one. I'm hitting F4 again. It switched it to the column is now absolute, then nothing. So total absolute, row absolute, column absolute, nothing. So that's just F4. I don't have to go and hit the dollar sign. You can. I've done that for tons of time in my life. But if you just want to hit one keystroke and have it all done, you can. So we're going to need to know about this as we move forward, because we're actually going to build a pretty cool and pretty complicated spreadsheet today that I think anybody would love to show to their boss. It turns out pretty neat when we're all said and done. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump right into it. We should be at this point. If you weren't here yesterday, hopefully you jumped on the YouTube channel and caught up. Otherwise, we're gonna be flying fast, and you're gonna have to watch YouTube to catch up where we are. Okay, so in the first one, cost of goods sold. I'm on page EX135. If you guys want to follow me along in the book, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come up here and we're gonna say the cost of goods sold. So we want to be in Bravo 5, B5. We're gonna write a formula in here, and this formula equals. If we look on EX134, don't look over on the right. There's a table in there. I don't want you to read the formula. If you have to, like, cover up your hand right here so you don't see it, because this is the power of Microsoft Excel. You know how I told everybody yesterday that I don't like to do math? I hate to do math. So what we need to do is take our mind away from doing the math, and we need to put our mind into what are we trying to calculate, and then how do we tell the computer to calculate it. So what's the first one reading that one? James, can you read me that? Or Jacob, I'm sorry. Can you read me that? No, the what we're trying to calculate right here on the top one.
So
So cost
cost of goods sold.
of goods sold is, go ahead.
Okay, revenue times, the formula is
No, not the formula. I want you to tell me what we're trying to calculate. Revenue, okay, right here,
times minus margin percent.
times, parentheses, 1 minus margin percent. So let's just, before we look over there on the right, because I don't want you to look at the actual formula, what are we trying to do? We want to take this number and we want to times it by 1 minus, and if we move down to the bottom here, 1 minus this margin percentage right here. So that's at 78.75. So 1 minus that's going to be what? I don't care, because I'm not going to do the math. Okay? So I don't want you to sit here and even spend one brain cycle on it. We just want to know how to do it. Okay? So I'm going to go up here and very simply, I'm not going to look at the formula. That it's in the book. You can torture yourself and cheat if you want and go ahead and look in the book, but we don't need to look in the book because Jacob just read us everything we need. So I need revenue times, is what you said, right? And I'm going to put in parentheses because I'm going to use a minus. And you guys remember yesterday we had PEMDAS? So anytime we have a negative or a subtraction happening right here, we need to make sure that we keep it in check. We want to do the 1 minus the percentage first. 1 minus, and I'm going to go down here to that margin. Just click on it. So it's B19, close parentheses. That's it. I'm going to hit enter, and it gives me number $11,687.50. It did the math for me. That's awesome. It didn't tell me cells. It didn't tell me, I just logically took what I'm supposed to do for that. Was that your phone? It's embarrassing. I'm going to have to post your Instagram account to the entire YouTube channel. Okay. Now, if we're going to drag this across, what happens here? Well, we get numbers, but this one's 55,000 for B4. This one's 11,000. Then in C, it's 62,562. What's going on here? Why doesn't this look right? These, it's just matching the number everywhere. Well, if I click on it, I can see, it's taking C4, the revenue, and it's subtracting 1 minus C19. Well, what's C19? I thought it was supposed to be B19. So if I scroll down here, it's taking the number just to the right because we're moving the equation. It's referencing where it is, and it's saying, you wanted the one below it. But that's not what I want. I want to keep this one in the same position the whole time. So what am I going to make it? Starts with an A, ends in a absolute? Absolute, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here to this cost of goods sold. I'm going to click on B19, and I love how they color code in Excel because as we see it up here in the formula bar, we can see that this is red. So I know this is the one, and blue would be up above. I'm just going to click on that B19. I'm going to hit F4. It's going to give me my $2 signs right before the B, right before the 19. Was that a question, Amber, or no? Okay. F4.
I did click F4 and it didn't take me there.
No. Yeah. Click on B19. Oh yeah, you're there. So let me see here. Yeah. On these laptops that you have, you might have to hit the FN key for function because the top has the projector, the screen. There's hotkeys usually on there. Do you want to scoot over here, Amy? Or here, I can move this. You want to be here? Because it looks like you're struggling to see.
Yeah, a little bit.
Come on over. Just don't unplug me right here. You can plug into Noelle's. It's my audio for YouTube right there. Okay, so as we have just done, so does everybody have an absolute now on B19?
Yeah.
Elizabeth, you got it? Yeah. Okay. Now what we're going to do is now we're going to re-drag that across. And as we drag this one across, just to see it here, now we got different figures. Now they're starting to actually look real. Because what it's doing is, as we move across, it's going to keep the number above referencing. So it's going to, as we move across, it's going to the revenue right above it, but it's keeping the calculation 1 minus margin percentage to where it is. Noelle, question?
That's not
What number did you get? You did it wrong. I know you did it wrong. Okay, so you are on minus B7. This is B19.
Well, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, you're supposed to be B19, and then we want to do a function F4. There you go. Enter. Now drag that across. Yes, John. Which step? Where I drug it across? Okay, all you do is this. You just come over here. You got to make sure that B5 has this exact formula. B4, which is revenue, times, parentheses, 1 minus the margin as an absolute. So you have dollar sign in front of both of them. Close parentheses. And then I'm just going to grab this right here and drag it across. Grab bottom right and drag it across. Not working? I can come back here and help. That's why I have a mobile mic.
This is the original numbers I got. I just have to plug it in up here, right?
Yeah, now on this B19, you got to click on that one.
Okay.
On the B19.
Out here.
Yep. Now you're going to hit function F4. And now you've got your absolutes.
Oh, okay.
Now you hit enter. Now drag that one across. Yep.
Just like
No,
that.
no, just click on this.
Okay.
Now, bottom right, yeah, click that.
Uh-huh.
Click, drag it across to June.
Okay.
Not to the totals, just to June.
Oh, okay.
There you go, let go. And there you are. So it's really important as we're doing this dragging. I just noticed 3 people as I was helping him. This bottom right box here in Excel, like we can't just click on the cell and drag it across. Your cursor changes to a skinnier plus sign and everything. That's when you're over there and it's going to drag the formula instead of just copying what is, well, instead of just highlighting everything. Okay, did we get that? Is everybody okay so far? All right, moving on. We have a bunch of other formulas to do. So gross margin. Now, without looking at your book, everybody eyes up, eyes up. I don't want anybody cheating. George, you're looking at your book. Okay. How do we calculate, before you even look at it, the gross margin right now? What is the gross margin? You're all business students. What's the gross margin? What was it, Amber? I liked it. Revenue minus the cost of goods sold. So before we even look down, you tell me, how am I going to write that in this cell? Equals what? B4 minus B5. Now, we didn't look at the book, but let's look down here. Cost, or gross margin, revenue minus cost of goods sold. Boom, we did it, okay? I don't have to know what the number is because I know how to calculate that number. So I don't even care what the number is right at this point because I'm going to get all this to work on the entire spreadsheet, but I'm just putting in the right formulas. And then we're going to do this amazing thing at the end of class day where we do what-if analysis, where we can change all sorts of stuff, and we can see the projections of what would happen if we change that. This is the power of business and why Excel is so exciting for us. All right, now let's jump into expenses. How do we calculate the bonus structure, Noelle? What does it say in the book? Don't look on the right, just tell me, no, look in here, but right here. I don't want you to read this one, I want you to read just the calculation. How do we calculate the bonus? It equals what?
Okay, so IF equals B4.
Well, I just said, don't read it to me. Did I just say that to her? I think I just said, don't read me the formula. I said, read me the middle.
B20 or 0.
No.
Okay.
No. Oh yeah, is that what is this?
That's what it is. I don't know.
Okay, bonus equals the value in B20 or 0. So now we're going to jump into George's favorite topic. It's called what-if statements, okay? If functions. So if we, oh wow, this is a horrible pen. What happened? It just died on me. Somebody used whiteboard cleaner or something? We got to throw this away over here. That should never be used on this board. Let me try this one more time. It's glass. You just use water. Okay, I'm going to leave that right there for right now. Okay, if revenue equals $65,000, then if it's true, we pay a bonus of $35,000 or $3,500. If not, no one gets a bonus. What? Time to get paid. Now, why would we do this in business?
Incentives.
We're trying to incentivize the sales force. And this happens all the time. I'm sure, do you have step commissions or no? Do they pay you more if you sell more?
Of course not.
No?
Always trying to help people out.
Well, listen, I worked at Sears, full commission sales, way back in the day. This is like 20, 25 years ago. But when I did that, if we would sell a better product or we would sell more insurance, like we have maintenance agreements and product protection plans, every time we get to a certain level, they'd bump our commission for the rest of the month based upon how many of those we sold. So we were very incentivized to make sure people got that. So we could say, hey, as a business, I want to make sure the revenue number is 65,000. Now, we don't want to calculate this. We don't want to go through every month and be like, did the revenue hit 65,000? We don't have to. The computer can do all that for us. And Excel has a built-in function called if. Has anybody heard that song by Bread? If a picture paints. No, it's not that kind of an if, but it is an if-then statement. So instead of, Noelle was excited for me to sing. Instead of typing it in here, which we can do, and I'm sorry, it's a bad habit because I just know the function, so I'm going to go through. I'm going to teach us how to find the function instead of just do the function. If we want to put in a function like if, we're going to go ahead and go into what, Mark? Mark, you have such a high voice all of a sudden. That was amazing. So, okay, we're going to go into formulas, and we're going to say insert function, and we're going to type if. Now, I'm just going to type, I want to do an if. It's going to give me recommended. Here's if at the top. So we're going to say, great. This is going to check whether a condition is met, whether or not we made $65,000 in revenue, and then returns one value of true and another value of false. I'm going to show you right now. It'll probably make a lot more sense. Okay, you go to formulas, insert function, type the word if, pick that function, then click OK. Or some people like to say O to the Kizé. All right, and then it'll bring you to this wizard screen. It's not a warlock screen, it's a wizard screen. Okay, it's very important. You with me now, or are you with the terrorists? Okay, you're here. Okay. This is called user error. Now, if what? What is our statement we're trying to do?
If the revenue is equal to or greater than 6,500.
So this is our logical test. So this is what we're going to have to build our if statement in. So if this thing that we're about to write here is true, then we're going to go to these next two things. True is the second one, false is the third one. So if revenue, which I love what he just said, because he's not talking about the formula, if revenue is greater than or equal to 65,000, then we're going to pay a commission. If not, we're not going to pay a commission. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click this little button. Everybody know this button right here? This means take me into the Excel spreadsheet. I don't want to be on this wizard anymore. So I'm in here and I'm going to say if this number, right, which is revenue, B4, okay, but I'm going to say if revenue is greater than, we got to put the little alligator symbol on there. So greater than or equal to. The greater than is just to the left of the question mark. Greater than or equal to. That's how we tell Excel greater than or equal to. So we have a greater sign than equal to. We could put in 65,000, but what if we want to change that number? We never want to type in a number, if we can help it, into a formula. We always want to have that number somewhere else in the spreadsheet so we can change it and it will automatically populate somewhere else. So if it's greater than or equal to, and I think we typed it in here, 65,000, here it is, B21. And I'm going to make that an absolute because I know I'm going to start moving this thing around. So I'm going to hit F4, and that's going to absolute. So if revenue is greater than or equal to 65,000, this is my logical test. I'm going to hit the enter key. It's going to take me back in. So I've now written, so right now it's telling me what the answer is. It's false. Is it false for January? Yeah, because it's 55,000. So it looks like we've done it right. That's good. The computer's so smart, it tells us ahead of time. If it's true, I want you to pay a bonus, and they gave us the bonus number right here, so I'm just going to use it, B20. I'm going to hit F4. So I have my absolute. I want you to pay $3,500. Which is B4 in the bonus. And if it's not true, what are we going to pay? 0. You get nothing. I'm just going to type in 0. Now, once again, I didn't write this spreadsheet. If it was me writing it, I might actually put in there, what if it's false? Like bonus, best bonus structure, worst bonus structure. Because maybe I want to pay $250 as a bonus. Maybe I want to incentivize people to just sell. These are the things that we can do, but we're going to use 0 in here. Like I said, I hate typing in numbers and formulas, but it's okay. When I click OK, it comes up and it says, this month do I pay a bonus? No, because it wasn't 55, or it wasn't above 65,000. So this little structure is pretty cool. I don't know if it's right here. We're going to get to this, and we aren't going to do it in here today, but I just want you to grasp this concept. What if we had another tier of bonuses?
Oh, this is where I had issues.
This is called a nested if statement. It's an if within an if. It's the matrix. Okay. Now, so we can actually say, if revenue is above 65,000, I want you to do what? I want you to run another logical test. If revenue is greater than or equal to, sorry, I didn't do greater than up here, 80,000, what am I going to say here? Let's just say I'm going to pay an extra bonus. It's going to be $5,000 as a bonus. But what happens if it's false? What do I put for the false side? Yeah, so false is 35,000 because that, or 3,500. I'm sorry. So 5,000 or 3,500. So you get it where if this is true, then do this. Oh, I'm going to run another if, and if this is true, I'm going to do that, but not. Oh, that was 3,500. It was supposed to be there. You can do this like 10 times deep. It gets really complicated, okay? And it's very hard to track. So usually you're going to build like maybe 2, maybe 3 deep if-then statements, or just have different waypoints in your spreadsheet that are doing certain pieces of it. Because you can do super complicated formulas in Excel, but a lot of times you're like, whoa, wait, did I get that logic right? Because we're essentially writing a program. All the programmers in the college would be so proud of us because we're doing if-then statements. And they're like, that's what we do all day long. So we're doing that. But I just want you to kind of conceptually see this. Does that help what we're doing? And we'll do one of those towards the end. And I'll show you how to format that, actually. Yeah, the formula's a little tough. But when you're doing that formula, you have to know how to use, instead of going up to the wizard, you have to just know how to type if, parentheses, and then it's going to be logical test, true, false. So that's another thing to think about. So let's do the commission. What is the formula for the commission? It's on that first page, 135 or whatever. Not formula. What are we trying to calculate? Revenue times commission percentage. So let me see here. Myra, how would I write that formula? Revenue times commission percentage. So B4. B22, and I'm going to go ahead and hit F4 on B22, so it makes it absolute, because I don't want to move that one. So B4 times B22, enter. How about site rental, Amy? How am I going to write that one? You had me at B22. If I was an Excel spreadsheet, Amy, I'd say you complete me. So just tell me what you need here. That's all right. B22 is down here. So now we're going to do the site rental. If I want to calculate the site rental on page 134, what does it say we're supposed to do to calculate the site rental percentage or amount? Yeah, revenue. So same thing. So equals B4, but this time we're going to do times the site rental. And I'm going to do the F4, so I make that one absolute. Hit enter. Marketing. Edith, how am I going to calculate marketing? Yep, by times B24, absolute. And finally, equipment, revenue, which is going to equal revenue, B4 times equipment and maintenance. And that's absolute. And I think that I have this typed in wrong. I think it was 3.5%, wasn't it? I think I put 3%. 3.5%, I'm pretty sure. That's what happens when I practice before I come to class. I find all my mistakes. I'm sorry, this happens to be right on this line. Do we just? What's the question? No question? Well, it's about to get real quick.
I'm confused.
I know, I can tell. I mean, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, so it's equal the first
Revenue, which would be B4,
time, what?
times, which one are you looking at?
11.
Site rental? So down below, these are our what if assumptions. If our site rental is 10%, so B4 times that 10% down here, B23. And then you want to make that an absolute, not a vodka. We can't drink and do Excel. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know what you do with your $1 million, so it does. Yes, sir. It's operator error, but we can fix that. That's why we're in here. We're learning how to be good operators. Okay. Okay, so equals, we're going to do if, and then the logical statement is if B4 is greater than or equal to 65,000. So we're going to make that one an absolute. Okay. Then if it's true, we want it to pay out. Why isn't it scrolling down for me? We want it to pay out $3,500. And we want to make that one absolute because we don't want it to move. And if it's false, we want it to pay out 0. So that's good because it's false. But watch, as soon as I drag this over here to one of these, it'll start paying out $3,500. So we'll do that in a second.
Okay.
So commission's the same thing. You're going to say equals 55,000 times the commission. Okay, now your problem is down here, you didn't make these percentages. So this is going to throw it all off because you're going to be like, wow, I got weird numbers coming up.
Yeah, I tried doing that.
I'm going to absolute this, see, so it's like, wow, this is huge. So instead of that, you want to create this as a 25%. And there you go. And the commission, so this is 10%, right? So let's make this 10%. Marketing was, how much is the marketing number for the percentage? 5%. And then I think this one's 3.5%. Okay, now if you go down and you make all those formulas, they should work. Okay? How are we doing? You're rebooting.
Horrible.
You're playing Galaga. Okay. Looking good. I see lots of numbers everywhere. Noelle is close. So close. Yes, Deborah.
No, I'm done. No, he said that it's
Yeah, those need to be over there.
I'm not sick. I feel like
So here, I'll just copy them over for you really quick. But you're just gonna.
I'm not sick. You know when you have a headache.
Did you get to watch the YouTube video?
Yeah.
So you just need to indent this right here. That way it kind of looks like it's over there. There you go. Now you can go ahead and do those calculations we were just doing. Okay, we gotta hurry. We've only got 12 minutes till break. Ah! What's happening to the day? All right. So we've just done some pretty cool calculations here. I feel like I've just baptized a bunch of new Excel trainees. This is good because we're doing mixed reference formulas. I love that. This is like nerdgasm for me. And I just love this stuff. This is what, this is business. And I just hope you understand, this is how you can figure out if you want to start your own business, if you're going to make money. This is like the spreadsheet that you're going to do to see if that works. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to go through and we are going to, we did the if function. We want to now copy everything over. So we're going to go on page 140, EX140. We're going to highlight, so I'm on B9 and I'm holding the shift key down. Oh, I'm sorry, you know what we need to do? We need to calculate our total expenses. If I want to calculate all those expenses quickly, Mark, what am I going to do? Auto sum. Poof. Now, what's operating income? Let me see. Elizabeth, what's operating income? This number down here.
I think
You're George. I'm talking to Elizabeth. What do you think? How would we calculate operating income, Elizabeth, with what we have? Hold on. I'm talking to Elizabeth. Just guess. We added up all the expenses. We added up the revenue. How are we going to get to operating income? This is the money we have to work with after we've paid for everything. Minus what? Yeah, we're going to take the gross margin and we're going to subtract the total expenses. That's exactly what we're going to do. So equals the gross margin minus the total expenses. Boom. Gives us our operating income. So that says that month, we don't have salaries in here anywhere. It says that month we made $19,000 if we do what we said we were going to. That's awesome. What? Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to that B9, hold the shift key down. I'm putting my arrow keys all the way down to B16. And I'm going to click on the bottom right and drag it all the way over to June. I realized I didn't drag my gross margin. I'm like, how do I have negatives? So I got to click up here on my gross margin, and I also got to take that one across because we have nothing in there. So it's like a 0. But you notice as soon as I drag it over, it instantly calculates everything. It's so fun. I love it. Whoop! Noelle's brain just exploded. Wait, what was the question, Noelle? Yes. What's not happening? Don't focus on the numbers right now. Like if you're looking at my numbers and your numbers, you're like, something's wrong. Just chill for a second. I promise you typed in something wrong. Okay? Yeah, everybody does it, except for me. Okay. No. See, you're not listening to the basic. You gotta I said use the arrow keys. So shift and pull down, and then grab the bottom right and drag it across. And it's all going to work like magic. But you didn't do reference cells now, I can tell. See all these, the second ones? You have to make these reference cells. So function F4. Go to the next one. See this second number here? Or you could put dollar signs in front of both of them. I just like to do this F4 trick really quick. Just do that and then drag it across again. How's it working, Jacob?
I'm trying to figure out my cell formats on my phone.
It's all right. We're going to reformat everything.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to worry about that. Let me see you drag across your expenses. Looking good. Looking good. I think this one, yeah, you've got like a 3.5 instead of a percent.
So in this situation, so I dragged it over. Now I think my formula is wrong because, for example, in this one they should have gotten paid $3,500, and it's not.
Yeah, see, you're supposed to make this one absolute too. It's supposed to be B20
Oh,
on the
B20.
first one. Yeah.
Okay, so control.
No, just hit escape. Just go over to B20, or go over to that one, yeah.
This one?
Click on that. Now go up and click on that and hit F4. And then enter, and then re-drag it across. Ta-da. Now you don't have to just do one line at a time or one row at a time. You can do the whole thing. Yours looks amazing.
I just had
Where'd you mess up?
That's where the numbers change. So I don't know.
29. Okay. 3.5. $23, $33, $50, $6,700, $16. It's going to be this one, $52,767. No.
Oh, right here. I got 0, 0.
Yeah, so your if function's not set right. So if you come up here, B21. Oh, it's because it needs to be 65,000. You have a percent.
Oh, why did it?
So yeah, let's change this from percent. Just make it a comma style. And let's do 65,000. Whoops. Ta-da. Now it's working. See, it's always operator error. Yes, John. It's all right. That's what I'm here for. That's why we call me a teacher.
Probably plug one of these in manually, and so when I also on this and I got it, but when I drag it over, well, when I highlight all this, it turns it.
Okay, this one's manual. So all of these, you need to go through and do the same thing. So you just need to make this, what is the site rental? it equals what?
Holy cow.
But, well, here, it's not like you're supposed to have this memorized.
Okay.
So we did commission by doing revenue times the commission percentage. So now revenue times what will equal site rental? If you look down here, there's a percentage.
Okay. Commission 25%.
No, well, look right below it.
Okay,
Site rental.
okay.
So look, if we do revenue times site rental, boom, that one's good.
Okay.
Equals revenue times marketing percentage. You're gonna do the last one here. So how do we figure out the equipment and repairs?
Okay, let's see here. Equipment repairs. So we're going to go that times.
That, yeah. Well, you're gonna do revenue times that.
Okay.
So try that. You gotta write a formula in. This is a really good point. Yes, sir.
I skipped that step and I just tried to keep up. But my numbers, even if I drag all these across,
Let me look at this here really quick.
become negative.
Looking good. Oh, yeah, these are going to be negative because you haven't done your cost of goods sold. So let me see here. So that, okay, so this one's got to become a absolute also. Oops. Let's just try this here. It's okay. We'll get to it, Noelle. All right. So, yeah, you were just missing that this wasn't actually calculating, so it was making it all zero.
Okay.
But you have it all right. That's looking pretty good. Now you can do your totals on the right.
You said this times revenue, right?
So you're going to say equals
Okay. Times.
revenue. So you got to put that first one in times what?
Then we're going to go down to the
Site,
equipment.
and then enter. Now drag all that across. Okay. Let me make a quick, brief, logical connection in our minds just really quick because I'm seeing it in a couple of different places here, 3 or 4. And this is the hardest thing to teach in Excel. So it's not bad that we haven't gotten it yet, but we need to, I'm trying to get us to this mindset very quickly. And I don't see everybody's eyes. I need everybody's attention just for a minute. This is probably the most important thing I can teach in this class. The number that we are looking for, okay, the actual number of like 55,000 means nothing, okay? It doesn't matter what the number is. When we're in a cell, we don't care what number is going to be in that cell ever again. All we want to do is make sure that that cell individually is going to calculate what we think it needs to calculate. So we're going to say equals another cell plus 5, or equals another cell times this cell divided by this cell, times 100,000 divided by 25. Like whatever formula we want in there, we need to get rid of the numbers in our head and think, what do I want? Not what number do I want, what calculation do I want to have in this cell? And that's a tough thing to come to terms with because a lot of times we're like, wow, I've got negatives right now. Like, who cares, right? Like, we don't care what the actual calculation gives us. We want to be thinking logically. And then what we can do is if it looks wrong, it's not that the number's wrong, it's that we probably have done a calculation improperly. And so instead of thinking, why do I have negative? No. Go back to the cell, the first cell that you started with, and say, what about this formula isn't calculating properly? Because we can usually do the math. I mean, we can sit here and manually write all these numbers in and then bust out a calculator. I've taught accounting so many times where I see students in the 3rd class, when I've been trying to teach them Excel the whole time, they're still doing crap by hand. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, you are spending 10 times as much effort as you have to if you could just let go of this paradigm of I have to calculate. Like, no, you don't have to calculate. The computer will calculate everything for you, and it will do it so quick. In fact, hopefully by the end of today, when we get to what if, you're going to be like, it's mind-blowing when you can practice and you can say, well, what if I increase my price? What if I decrease my rental price? What if I did this? How can I get, we even have a function in Excel that says a goal. What if I want to make $150,000 and I can change only this one thing? What do I need? And it will tell us. It will automatically come up with that number. We don't have to come up with the numbers. We need to come up with the formulas, okay? So it's just really important, and it's a hard thing to grasp, and I can see it struggling as I walk around the room. I can see people struggling with it. So just keep thinking. If you're thinking, what is this? No. Let go of the number. What is the calculation that I want the computer to do? Okay? What is the calculation? I don't care if you see up here that I have 15,625. If you see that and you think really quickly, my shortcut to make sure I'm right here with Mr. Greer is to type in 15,625. Way wrong answer. You've just jumped the shark. Okay? That is not what you need to do. I don't care if this number comes up as a negative 250,000, blah, blah, blah. If you did a formula, that's what I want you to do. Because we can go fix the formula and it will automatically change the number. But just because my number is different than yours does not mean you just should go type the number in, okay? You should not type any figure in except for revenue. That was given to us, right? Those were the only numbers that they gave to us based on sales receipts is what they're saying. The rest of this is a complete calculation, which is what makes it so beautiful, which is why it's awesome because we can go in and say, what if I wanted to say, hey, you know what? Right now, my totals, and I'm just going to drag this down. You don't have to do this yet, but I'm just going to drag this down. Right now, at the end of what we have so far, I'm making $136,000. What if my first month I could make $156,900? Boom. It tells me instantly what my profit would be at the end. I love that. Like it did all the calculations for us just like that. That was the one number I had to change. We're going to see this towards the end. What if I wanted to change my marketing cost to 20%? All of a sudden, my profit just went from 136 to 72 because it's doing all the math. It did it for all the months. It did it for all the revenue streams. It did it for everything. So this is the power of what happens if we can build a good spreadsheet. Because as I say in business, it's never going to get better than this number. This is your best case scenario. This is what you came up with when you were writing a business plan. That's your total. That's your number you're going to make from this in 6 months. If you have it. Now, guess what? There's going to be all sorts of crap that happens in between now and here, in between January and June. I've seen so many businesses where they said, oh, I'm going to sell 500 of these this month. And I'm like, 500? How? What market? How are you going to do? You're like, you don't even have customers yet. How are you going to do that? That's what these projection sheets are for. So anyway, I didn't mean to go off on a rant, but I just want us to really, really, really understand that. We're going to pause right here, take our break. And we are.
So the struggle right now is.
The struggle is real.
That it's not coming up the right way. It's like.
You ask me after the break. Sorry. Okay, I can. Let me see. All right. We're supposed to be. What's not coming up the right way?
Look, so
No, don't drag that. What the heck is that?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's your revenue. You're not dragging that down. These all look good. That looks good. You're typing in the number.
Well, because I don't know what to do.
What did I just say beforehand? Did I say, do you ever type in the number? Didn't I had everybody look up at me, didn't I? I had this clearly articulated. I don't care what it is. Don't ever type in the number. You typed in the number all the way across.
But I also.
This is an if statement. If B4, which is revenue, is greater than or equal to 65,000, okay? And we want to make sure that one doesn't move, so we're going to do absolute. Then pay them how much? $3,500, and if not, pay them 0. Parentheses. Now drag that one across. See this? And you notice what? It's going to be a formula, and it's going to magically have the right numbers. Oh, you did something wrong.
You see that was what I had at the beginning.
Okay, hold on. You have D4. Yeah. No. If B4 is greater than or equal to B21. Oh, this one's got to be absolute. I'm sorry. Because we can't move that because you're moving your commission number now also. Ta-da!
Okay.
Thank you. Dropping dimes. Okay. Where'd you get all those dimes, Kevin? I love that commercial.
Okay, you might not.
All right, we're going to keep going. We're going to do something kind of fun right now. And we have, don't forget, Jack Mangus is on campus, okay? He's in the back. He's not here today. He's normally here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He's going to be here tomorrow and Friday all day. If you'd like to come in and get some tutoring, he also is a Microsoft Office master. He has all of his certs. And his entire job, all I pay him to do is tutor people on Microsoft Office. And then he does stuff for me when people aren't taking him up on that. But he's awesome at this stuff. And if you guys all want to come in, he'll pack the room and he'll go over everything, all your homework with you, whatever you want to do. Okay? So let's move on. We're going to take this little chart section. This is a cool little feature in Excel that a lot of people don't use. But a lot of times what makes people like recognize what good data is and what is good information, since you didn't have my first class, I like to make this description difference. Can anybody tell me what the difference is between data and information? Except for all the letters. I love that description. That's exactly what I think. Data is raw figures. Information is when we do something with it. So it's something that means something to us. So one of the ways that we can make data information is to put it into like a graph or a chart. Because have you ever heard the phrase, a picture speaks 1,000 words? You know, like it just does. It says so many things to us. And a lot of times when we're looking at these numbers, we're like, okay, which one of the, I do this in my APP104 class. I'm like, which one of the months has the most in site rental expense? And then we all sit here and we look at it. We're like, oh, that would be April. You know, we can come up with it. If we put it into a graph, we'd see that April instantly is much higher. We can just see it very quickly. We don't have to go hunt for it. So the image a lot of times means a lot more to our manager than just the raw data. Perfect example. I was writing up a schedule for our director here, and I was trying to plan an awesome schedule for everybody in here. And I went in, I had page after page of data. I'm like, look at all this, and this is how it's going to work, and we're going to have this kind of, you know, it was just so awesome. And he's like, why don't you call a couple other campuses? I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I took that information. I went in, I called the other two campuses. He told me to call. They didn't give me any good information. I was like, yeah, they don't know what I want to do here. And I said, I'm doing this wrong. I need to give it to them in information. So I wrote it up in a flyer. Same stuff. Wrote it up in a flyer, made it pretty. I made it imaging so you could see it really easily. And instead of having because it was my thought, it was a very complicated process, but I simplified it into something simple that he could read very quickly. Came in, he's like, this is brilliant, make it a flyer. I was like, same thing. I mean, I didn't change a thing on it. You know, I just reformatted the way the information, the data was given to him now as information. So we want to think of that, and we always want to think that when we bring ideas and stuff like this to a boss, they don't want to hear this. They don't want to read through all this crap. They want to know, what did you think, or how can I make a decision quickly? So that's what we're going to learn how to do, is give them a really cool feature over here called a spark line. So if we go over to the chart section, I'm actually going to make I a little bit bigger. I'm going to drag it out to about 15, so it's just a little bit bigger. So I made my I column a little bit wider. We're going to go up into Insert. And down here in this area, it says Spark Lines. Okay? See this? Yes, sir.
For I, does it have to be any particular width?
It needs to be 17.2396. No, there's no particular width. I'm just making it bigger so we can see it. Thank you for asking. I couldn't help myself with being really specific. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a line, spark line. I'm going to click it in here, and it's going to ask me for a data range. It's saying, okay, I'm going to make a little tiny graph that fits in one little cell. What data do you want me to show? I'm going to go ahead and click on my Take Me Out to Excel, and I'm going to grab B4 through G4. Now, I do not want to bring a total in, and this is an important thing. When we combine data, and I consider any kind of calculation information, when we combine data and information, it never works well in a chart or a graph. Okay? You never want to mix those two things. We can do graphs on information, we can do graphs on data, but we don't want to commingle those two things. Then I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, I want to keep it right here. I'm going to click OK. And look, I got me a little graph. This shows me like what's happening. It's increasing right here. That's kind of cool. Instantly, I have some information that the...
We were just talking about, like, why do we gotta have a line there?
So we're going to have a line so we can say, hey, look, it looks like the fourth, I mean, I can visually look at this and say, oh, look, fourth quarter down, or the fourth month here, looks like we had a spike in revenue, so that's pretty good. I like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this all the way down. I'm going to delete these little things I've got here. It's a lot of lines. But notice that this is, okay, so does this give us much information? We just kind of took it and made it look like a bunch of lines. All right, now it's not such good information, but we can see that there's a definite trend. Like everything seems to be going up in the fourth month. That's actually good information for us. We can see, wow, we started off low. We end up higher than we did after the beginning in almost every category. That's pretty good information.
Mine went down.
Well, then you have the wrong numbers. We can fix that later. It's okay. So we've got all this. Now, as we look at it, we're like, you know what? I think I don't like this color because I'm finicky like that. So I can go into my design. I have to have them all highlighted. And I can click into my design. I can drop this down and say, you know what? I want to pick accent 4 darker 25. So I'm going to pick that one. We can't even really tell, but it went from blue to green in here. You know, we can just change the color around. And then I can say to myself, you know what? The problem is the sparkline isn't giving me good information because it's hard to read. I think I'd rather do this as a column. So I went up here and I clicked column on my sparklines under design. And now I actually kind of get some better, I can now see the definition between the months. I can see that like commission, the bonus structure right here has stayed consistent over 4 months and it's been nothing for a couple months. This is good information. I'd love to have somebody give me this kind of a report as a employer because, okay, I've got some good stuff in here. Now, any questions about sparklines? It's a little tiny feature, but I just want you to see that. It's kind of cool that you can do that and you're out on your job. And George, if he put sparklines on his thing that he brought to his boss, maybe he would have been a little more impressed, but he wasn't, so he's like, yeah, it's just numbers. I don't care about that. Okay, are we good? Wasn't too hard? Good. All right, let's go ahead and start formatting the worksheet. When I say formatting, when you bring somebody this, just like I brought to the campus director my raw data, it doesn't usually mean much. We want to make it look good. We just need to take a few moments after we're finished with something to give it some context in order to, show that it's actually going to be meaningful. Make it pretty is exactly right. We're going to drop some dimes. Okay. So we're going to hold the shift key down. I'm going to go all the way over to I. So I'm on A1 to I2. A1 to I2. We're going to drop into the back a color. The color you want to drop into the back is this one right here. This green accent 4. Because this is not a class on how to make things pretty. It's just, it's Microsoft. You need an Apple product to do that. But so we've got it green in the background. I think what I want is my font to be white. So our font color is right here, just next to that paint dump. So I'm going to go ahead and make it white. The next thing I like to do is I'm going to make just the first two. I just hit my left arrow, then shift and down. Control B, I'm going to make both those bold. Bold. And truth be told, this is not my favorite way to format things because this takes a long time. I'm going to show you in a second how to format very quickly. Somebody's a T-Mobile customer. Okay. I love you too. Okay. Next, we're going to change the size of this font to 28. So I'm just going to click on that number and go to 28. Now we can see it's Caitlin's Ice Cream Shop, Shoppe. And then we're going to make Caitlin's Ice Cream Shop the 6-month financial projection to a 16. We've got the date. See the date that we ran the projection. Notice that yesterday this said 10/18, but because we use the now function, it says 10/19 automatically. That's pretty awesome. Okay. We are going to then jump into this section right here. So we're going to highlight A3 to I3. Now this is my favorite way to format because it's so fast. We're going to go up to cell styles. And I'm going to go down and just pick heading 3. And instantly it changes, gives me a line, changes it all to this blue color. It's all pretty rapidly fast. I love that. Uh-oh, Noelle's already got a problem.
It's going away.
Control Z undoes whatever you just did. All right. When in doubt, Control Z out. That's our phrase. Now revenue, we want to change this to the same color. And so I'm going to go ahead and just, once I've selected a color for the background, guess what? It's there automatically. So I don't have to go find it again. I can just click on it. Then I can click, oh, I want white text. I like you to bold this for me. Gross margin, I want to do the same thing. Let's go ahead and background, white text, bold. Now I could keep doing that time and time again, or there's this really cool thing called a format painter. And what I can do is I can actually grab all the formatting, so not the content, but what it looks like. And we can go up to the top, right here where it says Format Painter. For anybody that's French, it's Format Painter. I'm just kidding. All right, we're going to click on Format Painter. Then we're going to come down, and I want to actually make the entire operating income line look like that. So I click and drag it across, and it automatically paints everything with a green background and a bold white font. It's kind of cool. It's green. It's not poo. And then we're going to do the same thing down here to our what if functions, or what if assumptions. And then I'm going to unbold this stuff over here. I didn't want to bold that. And it looks like it got rid of my indent, so I'm going to highlight it and indent it one more time. Oh, and it took away my percentages, so I'm going to have to go do this. Yeah, because it's putting the format in as it was. I'm going to make that, oh, I want to make that currency. And then Format Painter. And then this one, which is a percentage, I want to bring it out to. Boom. I did all that. We're just kind of dressing it up a little bit, make it look good. Amy's behind or what? All right. Format Painter. We're way past Format Painter. You gotta stay up with us. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna highlight this sucker. So we're gonna go to any of our total lines. We're gonna highlight them, Cell Styles, and click Total. It changed my font to a bold black, so I'm going to go back in and just hit white. But the same thing with total expenses. I'm going to highlight all the total expenses, and you know what? We're actually going to highlight that, and I'm going to highlight this second group here. Now you're like, Mr. Greer, how did you just highlight two things without something in the middle? That was a pretty good trick. Well, I'm glad I asked myself that question. If you highlight, click and drag, and then you press the Control key, Control, and then you go to another section, you click and drag, it won't have to grab everything in between. It's called non-adjacent cells. So then I can just go up and do a cell style on all of those. Poof. See that? Watch this. If I grab this, okay, then I hold the Control key down, and I grab this. I click and drag across. Then I click and drag this. I've now selected 3 different areas on the spreadsheet. I go up to Cell Styles, I type in, or I click on Totals, and it changes them all instantaneously. Control and then drag. So if you're going to grab everything in between, we can just click and drag down. That's easy. Or we can hold the Shift key and use the arrow keys to grab everything. But if we want to grab things that are around random, so everybody look at this really quick, just so I can get this into your brains a little bit. If I click here, I hold the Control key down. I click here, I click here, I click here, I click here, and I click here. So I've hit the Control key. I can go up top and I can say make these all red. And everywhere that I was hitting Control and clicking, that's what was selected. Okay?
But do you let go of Control first or the mouse first? Or does it matter?
Well, you're clicking, you're not holding it. But as long as you're highlighting stuff, you want to hold the Control key down. Now, if you let go, if you're clicking, like here, let me show you, George. I think this will answer your question. If I click here, I'm not holding the Control key. Now I'm going to take my magic control finger on my left hand, hold the Control, and I click with my left hand. I let go. Now nothing's on the keyboard, and I come back and I'm like, oh, Control click, oh, Control click. It'll still work. I can go back to it. I just have to be holding Control before I click. Okay? Are you shooting me with that, or? All right.
Got it.
What if assumptions table? Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't format all this stuff really quick. Let's do another one really fast. We're going to grab all the totals and the top revenue number. So I'm holding that Control key down. I'm going to grab all the totals. I had you at grab the totals. Then you hold control, and then you click on the next one and drag it across. Then you click on control, drag across, click on control, drag across. I'm going to go up to format, the number format, and I'm going to go down to more number formats. I want to change this to currency. You remember what the difference is between currency and accounting, George?
Accounting, the number is all the way to the left, and currency, the number's right next to the number sign's right next to the number.
Correct. So I'm going to put the dollar sign in, and I want to use in accounting. What do we use for negative? Parentheses, right? So I'm going to make sure we use the parentheses, and I'm going to have 2 decimal places. Then I click OK, and it automatically has formatted all these to look the same now. So we have dollar signs in front of them. We realize that they're money. It looks good. You have no dollar signs? You didn't add the dollar sign in that custom number format. Got to click there, click dollar sign, click over to the left, click Control Alt Delete. Control Alt Delete twice. Just push that. I'm just kidding. So yeah, got them all highlighted. And then go up to that. Go down to custom number. Okay. Do currency. You got to make sure you select the symbol, and then you got to pick the symbol, and then yeah, that one. Then click OK. There you go. Looks good now, huh? You used accounting, or you used this one right here. Aha! I knew it. Instead of going down and doing currency. Currency will keep the dollar sign close to the number. Accounting format will put the dollar sign all the way to the left of the cell. It's okay. It's you did something wrong, I'm sure.
No, because you're still clicked on.
Yeah, I'm still on there. Okay, so I'm going to go to something else that I didn't format. All this stuff in the middle. So I just highlighted all this. And after I've highlighted that, I'm going to click Control and drag over here. So I've highlighted everything in the middle. Then I grabbed the cost of goods sold, and I'm going to use comma style. Remember yesterday our martial arts? You have bear style, I have comma style. Just cleans it up. Now we got a good clean line. Everything's 2 decimal spaces. It's looking good. Okay, then you just click this comma right here. That's it. And then I'll, just clean it up just a little bit. It's those little things. And I'm telling you, as a boss, when someone brings me something filled out, and I mean that boss like I'm a boss, and no, it's no. As a manager, when someone brings me a form, and it's the weirdest thing for me, it's like those anal retentive little things. Like if somebody hadn't done comma style, and I saw that all these numbers over here on the right, like it could be a wonderful spreadsheet. But I'm like, how can you put all this time and effort into it and then make it look like crap? And I know that's really harsh, and I'm not saying that but that's what I think. So it's like, you want to have your work portray the effort that you put into it. So these are the final finishing touches after you've done this incredible spreadsheet. You want it to look like it's a good spreadsheet. So just take a few moments and do these things to make sure everything's formatted properly. Now we're going to make some more information for whoever's going to get this, because this is kind of hard to read and go through. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a custom chart, okay? We're going to do a clustered column chart to the workbook. The way we're going to do that is we're going to come up here, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab A1 to H3. Okay, grab that. Now we're going to compare our expenses. So I'm going to hold my control key down, and I'm going to say A9 to, oh, I'm sorry, I went to total. Never do that. Sorry, to G3. Or yeah, A3 to G3. And then I'm going to hold my control key down and go A9 to G13. So I've highlighted this, and I've highlighted that. It's like this and like that. Like this and like that. You guys know that song? Oh, that's one of my favorite songs. Okay. Anyway, now we're going to insert, and we're going to do a chart. So we can just click on recommended charts. like I said, they've spent billions of dollars developing Excel. It's like, hey, normally when people want to do a chart with this kind of data, they're going to want this kind of a chart. And we do. We want a clustered chart, column chart. So we're going to say okay. Now recommended charts. You didn't highlight it right if it's not available for data.
Highlight the totals.
Let me just try it here really quick. Because it looked like you had it right. I'm going to tell you that right now.
It's making me copy again.
Man, it just likes me. I don't know. That's what happens. It just likes me. Yeah, that's fine. You should have custom, if you go into column charts, you should have a cluster column chart. Very common chart. Yes. It was the first one. Then you click OK. And you should get a chart that comes up just like this. Now, before we do anything with it, the problem is the chart's in the middle of my page. And I could move it somewhere, but I don't want to. I'm going to actually go up here to this thing up top under Chart Tools Design. It says Move Chart. So up at the top right, we're going to go to Move Chart right here. What'd you say? Now I want to create a new sheet. I don't want it to be on this sheet. I'm going to have it put it down into a tab at the bottom. And on that new sheet, we're going to call it the expense chart. And when I click OK, it creates an entire new page, or worksheet, excuse me. And it's on its own. Noelle didn't get that?
I'm lost, so I don't know.
Where are you lost? Amy got it.
Why is it next to me?
Here you go. Don't hate her because she's beautiful. Look, I just highlighted those.
Okay.
Going to go Insert, Recommended Charts. First one's Cluster. And then we're going to move it and type Expense Chart right there. And you'll be right where I am. Yes, sir.
I got the chart up, I missed.
The move, just Move Chart.
Oh.
And then you create your own and you say, you want to create a new sheet that says Expense Chart. Okay. All right. Expense chart.
I'm also missing like a whole lot of numbers.
We'll get back to that.
Okay.
We can fill in numbers later and the chart will automatically work. That's the best part. So as we change our numbers, these are live charts. It will alter whatever we do in the worksheet. It'll automatically crank it out. Now this is on the certification. What we're doing right here, right now, this was on my test. I had to create a custom or a cluster chart separate on another sheet from data that they gave me using the control function to highlight, the months and the data. This was on the certification. I should have said that ahead of time because everybody would have paid more attention. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go through and we can change a lot of stuff. Now, the only reason I'm going to show you this is because this is on the test, okay? But I could probably teach a 4-week class completely on charts, okay? There's so much we can do in here. There's so many features and options that we can do. So I'm just going to run you through a brief overview of what some of them are. The first thing is we can filter what is on the chart with this bottom one right here, the values, okay? This is the filter button. It's like a filter, it comes down, okay? So it tells us to do certain things in the book. I'm just going to show us briefly because I don't think we have enough time to go through it, and I'd like to answer some questions about the homework that people might have. But we can go in and say, okay, I don't want the bonus on here. I don't want the commission on here. And I'm going to click Apply. And notice that it automatically just redid the chart. It just took those two pieces of information out. We can do that. So we can say, hey, I'd like to distill this down to, maybe I just want to be looking at bonus and commission. Maybe that's, so I take everything else out but bonus and commission. That's a pretty cool thing that we can do very quickly without having to recreate everything. The second thing I can do is I can go in here and say, okay, this money amount over here, if I click on it, this isn't looking right to me. I'd like to right mouse click it and say Format Axis, because I've got 6,000.00, 7,000 points. It's just, there's too many numbers on there. We don't need decimal places. So I'm going to go down to, on the axis options here, I'm going to scroll down to number, and I'm going to take out my decimal places. I'm just going to say 0. And now we can see over here on the left that it's only 6,000, 7,000. If I wanted to, this isn't even in the book, if I wanted to, because it's so tiny, I could say, I want to, where is it, home? I want to change this from 9 point to 14 point. And now I can actually read that over there a little bit easier, so I can see that axis. So I can just go change it as long as it's highlighted. So the secret in charts is if you're clicked on it, you're editing it. Okay, a lot of times people click in the chart and they drag, and it drags the background away or something like that, and the problem is like, ah! In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. I was doing a proposal for it's a long time ago. Anyway, I was doing a property proposal for us to purchase something, and my boss, I needed $1.5 million, okay, in order to do this. And he was really into the movie Shrek. It had just come out, and he had a Shrek doll on his desk, and he pushed a button and say, Shrek and Donkey, you know, like all this kind of stuff. It was weird. But it was a mini storage facility that I wanted to build. So I called it, in my proposal, Shrek Mini Storage. And like all my charts and graphs had like pictures of Shrek and Donkey as like the height. And you know what? He approved it. He was like, oh, this is great. He's just like looking through the thing. And so it's so weird how people make decisions on how things are formatted sometimes. But that's one of the powers of this, is that we can give them good content very quickly. Next thing we can do is up here on the top, chart elements. We can go add data labels. Now data labels are, we don't know, I mean, we can kind of look over here really quickly and see this is just above 9,000, but we don't know what that actual number is. We can put a data label in and it will actually add the number. I'm going to go ahead and say on the outside end, and as soon as I click that, not only do I have a chart, but I can see this was 9,025, and I can see that very quickly. Now once again, I have decimal places. Do I want decimal places? No, but if I click on this and I come up to label options, sorry, let me get rid of this so I'm not looking at it. I go down to number, and you're going to be in here in the, we're just going to call it a number, and we're going to get rid of decimal places. This whole chart format data labels, all on the test. Oh, and you notice it only did it for one series. So I'd have to click on all the other, we call these series. So I'd have to go in here and change this to a data label. I'm not going to go do that. I'm just showing you that we can change all these different features. Ow, took my nail off. Okay, so we can just change all these features in here while we're working on this. Okay, let me see here. What else do we have?
How did you get it to populate on the right-hand side of the screen?
This? I used this button right here. Oh, I'm sorry, no I didn't. I went to format. So if you just right mouse click on any piece of it, like right here, and I right mouse click and I say format axis, that's what pops up the format section. Now, what if I don't like the way this one looks? This is close, but it's not exactly what I want. I'm going to actually get rid of my data labels. I don't like them. It's making it a little more complicated. I'm just going to uncheck that. Okay, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, you know what? I actually want this kind of a chart. And I'm going to change the title up here to 6-month projected expenses. So I can just click on there and say 6-month projected expenses. So when somebody gets in, they can see it very quickly and say, oh, that's what this is, 6-month projected expenses. I might want to put that there's a $sign that's needed on the axis. So maybe I'm going to click back in here and add element of, is it in here? An axis title. I could say, oh, you know what? I just want the vertical title over here on the left, and click into this, and I can say I just want to put a dollar sign in here so people know that's a dollar sign. This is money that we're talking about. And it's sideways. What the heck? I don't want it sideways. So I can right mouse click it, say format the axis title. And over here under direction, I could say vertical alignment, text direction, rotate. Oh, I want it to be horizontal. And then I'm going to make this one just a little bit bigger so everybody knows it's dollars that we're talking about. Good thing I recorded it. But I'm just saying, like, I clicked on something, I added an element, I right mouse clicked it, I formatted the element, and it's the same pattern on every single thing. So if you're in the test and they say, hey, add a horizontal title, okay, it'll come up in the bottom. Format that title to have Arial 12 point. Right mouse click on the title, Arial 12 point, and then you've done what the test wants. Okay.
When I right click, it doesn't populate.
When you right click, you have dollar sign. See how it's highlighted now? Right click, format axis title. And it's over here on the right now. Okay, we did chart style. Remove the data labels. We did all that. Okay, now we're going to rename some sheets. This is also on the test. Actually, everything we're doing is on the test, but I'll point them out now that I was just thinking I should be telling you what's on the test. We're going to change the color of a tab. This is an effective thing for some people. It's not a big deal for others. But if I want to make this expense chart, I can right mouse click on it and say tab color. I want to make it that green color that I've been using, green accent 4. Click. Now we can see that when I'm off of that, it's dark green. See, I can see that it's over here and it's a different color. If I want to change the name of the sheet 1 to what it is, I can say, hey, this is my 6-month financial projection. And I can right mouse click it, make that tab color green also. Whatever it is, green accent 4. Whatever they ask for. I'm just changing the color. The point is not the color. The point is that we can change it. It is the point on the test, though. So when they say green accent 4, you want to make it green accent 4. Otherwise, you get it wrong. We can also reorder the tabs. So I don't want expense chart first. I can just click and drag it over here. And then I can let go. And now it's the second sheet instead of the first sheet. All right, now we're going to learn a little bit about looking at this kind of stuff. So if I go back to the first page, if I go to view, I'm at 100%, but this is pretty complicated. There's a lot going on here. And let's say we want to scroll up and down. We want to see what's happening with what if functions. There's this cool feature where I can just grab row 4 and I can say split. And it will split everything above. So now when I go down, notice that 4 stays there. Or I'm sorry, 1, 2, and 3. But everything else moves. That's great. So if I want to get rid of that, I can just unsplit it. I can do the same thing on D. Like if I want to see, I can say split. Everything to the left now is going to move or stay stable while I move to this direction. It's kind of cool that we can kind of split it up so we can look at complicated things a lot easier. If I want to unsplit, I can do that. I can also freeze panes, and this is the same type of thing. It's a little different though. I can just say freeze. Everything above that is now frozen. So it works for a split. So you can do a split and a freeze pane, and then you can have both things kind of locked in. It's kind of a cool feature.
So that's useful when you're looking at a really big spreadsheet.
Exactly. And you know what? Unfortunately, this is a really low resolution screen. I have a 4K monitor in my office. I can have a gnarly spreadsheet up. Like it's just amazing. And you can see everything and you don't have to worry about these kind of split panes and things like that. But it is important to know that we can do that. You know what? This is not in the book and it's not on the test, but it's really good and useful for real life. The problem, one of the major problems with Excel is that if you create a new workbook, then you can't have 2 workbooks side by side. You can only be working one, or you go to the window and then do another one. But in Windows, you can just go down here, right mouse click on Excel, and just click Excel again, and it actually launches a second workbook and a second program instance. And so I like to do this all the time when I'm working on multiple worksheets, is this and this. So now I have two worksheets that I'm working, or two workbooks now that I'm working on that are totally separate. It's really nice on a 4K screen. It kind of sucks up here. But you can have a lot of good data in front of you if you're comparing back and forth. That's just a free little tip from an Excel user that does a lot of that. If we're trying to zoom in and zoom out, do we all know how to do that? Bottom right. So they'll ask you, they'll tell you to zoom in and zoom out. I do everything on the test and I leave it at the final way they told me to. So if they told me to zoom into 150%, I zoom into 150% and then I go into my next section of the test. Because I don't know if they're testing that. I don't know if they're actually trying to see if I left it at 150% or if they wanted to see if I could do that or what. So the way the test works is that you save the file as you go through and it grades what was in the saved file. So it gives you a start position, and it's a little different. I think we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but they give you 6 or 7 miniature projects, and there are 6 to 7 tasks in each one. So it'll just load up, and it'll have a spreadsheet just like this, and it'll be like, hey, run a what-if analysis based upon changing, marketing 5% to 15%. What would it take to get to 150,000? And you'll have to know how to go in and do that really quick. That'll be one little thing. You move on to the next one, and you just want to leave it at the state that it was, and then move on.
Oh, so it'll give you actual scenarios compared to like...
Yeah, it gives you a total scenario, yeah. And so that's what we're going to kind of move into here really quick is what-if analysis. So I'm going to unfreeze this pane. And this was on my certification test. I had never done it before, okay? And I've done a lot of really complicated versions of this, but this is a very simple version of it. They have this thing, it's an add-in for Excel called Solver. And in my MBA program, instead of just manipulating one area, what we did was we would come up with, like, if we were going to produce these widgets, and these widgets, and these were all the costs of the raw materials, what is the optimum amount of each widget we should make to make the most amount of profit? Okay, it's a very complicated thing. So I actually wrote one of those on my Mac Pro, which is an awesome screaming machine, and it calculated it for 24 hours. Okay, it was cranking. It was doing math for 24 hours for me, and it came up with an answer. It was just really cool. Our teacher told us when you get to this point, you gotta just leave your computer on because it's gonna take it a long time. I had a Mac Pro, so my computer can scream. It was a 12 core or something like that. It was a pretty quick machine for doing video. I can't imagine what somebody with a normal laptop, it must have taken them 2 or 3 days. A lot of people didn't even get it done. But we don't have to, we can just tell the computer, hey, what's the best case scenario? It's complicated to do, but what's the best case scenario? And the computer will run through every scenario possible and say, this is the best case. And when we're dealing with thousands of products or millions of things, that's a lot of math, but it can do it. And we don't have to sit here and guess and pretend. But we are going to learn a little bit about a what-if function here. So first off, we have down here our assumptions at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to come down here and say we have all this. I'm sorry, I need a Halls or something. We can change all these numbers down here and see what happens to our profit or our costs and see what the results would be. So for instance, if we were to go and say, all right, if we were to pay $5,000 for a bonus instead of $3,000, okay, it costs us $6,000 right here. Did you see that? It instantly calculated because I changed that $5,000 number. It instantly went down to $130. If I was to, in B25, if I was to make equipment repairs, let's say we need to spend a little bit more, instead of 3%, 3.5, I'm gonna make it 4%. Okay, just, I'm losing money here. We're talking about, we're looking at this, okay. What if I was to make my operating income, B4, B5, 5,000, oh, and 22.5. What if I was to decrease my commission structure to 22.5%. Okay, I'm making more money now. So if I increase a couple expenses, I decrease my commission, I'm actually making $3,000 more. That's good. But my question is, what would it take for me to make $150,000 after 6 months? That's what I want to make. I want to make $150,000. We could sit here and we could all argue about it. We could all guess. We could start putting in different things, trying to calculate it. Excuse me. Or, sorry. Or for the site rental, we could say, okay, what if I was to find a cheaper location? Can I get myself to 145,000? Maybe I can't push 150. So I can just go up here and say, under data, what if analysis? So I got to be on H16, what if analysis. So how do I have a goal of this cell, if I want it to equal 145,000, by changing, is the next one, by changing this one, what would that look like? And so I can just ask Excel, and it automatically calculates down to 8.61%. That's the cost that I'd have to have it. Change that number to 8.61%, and that gets me to my goal of 145,000. It's pretty cool, all right? Because it just did all the math to figure out, okay, I can get you to the exact number you want, but you're going to have to pay this much in rental. Now, this is just a theoretical exercise. We can, do this for anything. How many of these would I have to sell if I wanted to make X amount of money? And you could say, so I want this to equal this. I want this number to be the one that changes. What do I have to do? And Excel will use all the formulas you have, and it will kick out the answer for you. It's pretty cool. I love it. On revenue, just FYI, this is a total side note. On revenue, I'm a big believer in never typing in a revenue number. If you're doing projections, it's like I'm going to sell this many things at this amount. All right, so you want to put in the number, the quantity, and the price to calculate the revenue, because then you can see, oh, what if I raise the price 10%? What if I lower the price 10%? How many more? What if I increase the quantity by 10%? And you can really start seeing things like that when you're doing projections. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And our final thing that we're going to do today is printing. So when I want to print this thing, if I hit Control P, it's totally jacked up. Right? It's what's going on here? I don't know what's happening. It doesn't look right because it's not in landscape mode. So my first thing I'm going to do is go into landscape mode, and I printed one of these, and I meant to bring it in, and I left it on the printer. Apologies, I was going to demo this, but I'm still cut off. How do I fix that? I can do scaling down at the bottom, and I can scale it to fit all columns on the page or fit onto one page. I'm just going to say fit onto one page, and now we have a one-page spreadsheet that I think is wonderful to turn in. I would like this. If somebody turned this into me, it's pleasant. It looks formatted. It's a little small, but if there's a lot on this page. So if you want to make it a little bit bigger, here's a little Mr. Greer trick. Go into your custom margins and just kick over the left and the right just a little bit, because that's what we're trying to do. And it just makes it a little bit bigger. But I think having a ½ inch margin on an Excel spreadsheet is just fine. The other thing that we could do in here is under margins. This one kind of drives me crazy when people don't do it, but horizontally center it on the page. Just shifted it just a little bit. That used to drive me crazy when people would turn in stuff like that. Questions? Do we think we can get through the homework tonight, George, with that if statement explanation? Are there any nested if statements in the homework? Like where we have to do multiple if statements?
There is one.
There is one. Should I show us really quick? We got 3 minutes. Let me show you how to do a nested if. Okay.
There's the pass fail, and then which is not a nested. Then there's the one where you have to give them A, B, C, or no.
Okay, so let me do if parentheses. Okay, if B4, right, is greater than or equal to 65,000, then pay them 3,500. Oh, we changed this to 5. Sure, we'll say 5,000, comma, if not, nothing. Okay? This is our basic statement. I didn't do any absolutes in here. I'm just keeping it a basic if statement. So if revenue equals $65,000 or greater, then pay us out a $5,000 commission. If not, pay us $0. So instead of putting that instead of doing the 5,000 right here, what's the true answer? Well, if it's true, and we're going to nest it, so we've passed one test, we're going to do an if, parentheses, it's greater than, so I'm going to say B4, again, is greater than or equal to, bring me down there. I'm going to put this number in because I don't have it on the sheet, 85,000. Then, if it's true, pay out $10,000, and if not, yes, hold on. If not, we want to pay $5,000, and then we have to do a comma 0 right here because we have to finish that first statement. Okay, so it's at 0. Because it wasn't 55, it was only 55. But if I come up here and I make it 100,000, it went to 10,000.
I know what I did wrong. So
Yeah, so you have to have that final false.
I had someone doing it with, I think it was like a former version of Excel that was demonstrating on YouTube.
Okay.
And they had to use the quotation.
Quotes? Yeah, you don't need any quotes on this. But there are if statements. That got me really hung up on the expert on Excel because I was just not brushed up on if. I'm like, how do I write if? I was like, how do I actually articulate that? And it's the B4 equals greater than or less than kind of thing. So tonight, you're responsible to having all of Chapter 3's homework done and turned in. Okay? All of it. Because tomorrow, I'm scared to death we're not going to get through Module 4. We need to get through Module 4. Or your hose for the weekend, okay? Because tomorrow night, Chapter 4 is due.
Now, do you want us to turn this one in too, or
No, this one is just us learning how to do everything so that you can go home and do your homework. So this is me teaching you all the things that you need to know in order to get through your homework, and then, then we're off to the races. Any questions? What was the question? Oh, nothing. All right, thank you. You guys were wonderful today. I will try to post this to YouTube as soon as I can.